My girlfriend coldly said, "You re-safe." But my ex excited me more. I replied, understood, paid the bill, walked away, and tried to process everything hours later when I opened our apartment door. I knew this was 2 years. 2 years of what I thought was us figuring it out together. I should have seen it coming. Looking back, the signs were there painted in bright red, practically screaming at me. But when you are inside it, when you have invested that much time and emotion into someone, you develop this selective blindness. You explain away the things that should worry you. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party. Mara was coming off a breakup with some guy named Jace 3 years together, she said. Ended because they grew in different directions. Classic story. I was working at support at a logistics company. She was a receptionist at a dental office. Normal people, normal jobs, normal life ahead of us. The first year was good. Really good. She was fun. Spontaneous in a way that balanced out my more structured approach to life. I liked having plans. She liked changing them last minute. It worked, or at least, I thought it worked. The second year, things shifted. Little comments here and there. Jace always said this restaurant had better pasta, or my ex used to take me hiking every weekend. I told myself it was natural, everyone compares. Everyone references their past. It didn't mean anything, except it did. The night everything unraveled started like any other Tuesday. We had gone to this Italian place downtown. Nothing fancy, just our usual spot when we wanted to get out of the apartment. The lighting was warm. Soft jazz playing in the background. Other couples talking quietly over wine. Normal evening, we were halfway through dinner when she brought him up again. Jace, third time that week. I was just thinking, she said, twirling pasta around her fork. Remember when I told you about that camping trip to Big Sur? Jace planned the whole thing, found this secret spot, brought all the gear. It was incredible. I set down my water glass. You have mentioned that trip before, have I? She didn't look up from her plate. Yeah, a few times. Actually, that is when she did this thing, this little laugh that wasn't really a laugh. More like a dismissive sound. You are being sensitive, am I? I kept my voice level, because I am starting to notice a pattern here. Everything I do gets compared to what he did. Every story you tell features him. She finally looked up. That is not true. Last weekend, when I suggested we check out that new hiking trail, you spent 20 minutes telling me how Jace used to take you to better ones. When I brought you flowers Tuesday, you mentioned how he always bought you roses instead of tulips. When we had sex Sunday morning, you what about Sunday morning? I paused. This was dangerous territory, but we were already here. You said his name. The restaurant noise seemed to fade. Even the jazz felt quieter. No, I didn't, Mara. You did. She stared at me for a long moment. Then something shifted in her expression. The defensive mask slipped, and for just a second, I saw something else underneath. Something that looked almost like relief. Okay, she said quietly. Fine, you want honesty. I nodded, though part of me already knew I didn't. My ex is just better in bed. That doesn't mean anything. The words hit me like cold water, not because they were cruel, though they were, but because of how casually she said them, like she was mentioning the weather. I sat there, processing. Around us, couples kept eating, kept talking, kept existing in their normal Tuesday evening, but something fundamental had just shifted at our table, and only we seemed to know it. That doesn't mean anything, I repeated. It is just different. You are different people. Different. How? She shifted in her seat. He is more, I don't know, confident, adventurous. He takes charge. Each word felt deliberate, calculated, like she had been thinking about this comparison for a while. And I don't. You are safe, she said, which is good. It is just different, safe. The word sat between us like a judgment. I stood up. I need some air. Nolan, just give me 30 minutes. I need to walk. The night was crisp, October in the city. I walked for blocks without any destination, just moving, trying to process what had just happened, trying to figure out what came next. 2 years. 2 years of thinking we were partners, and she had been comparing me to another man the entire time, measuring my performance literally against some phantom from her past. But here is the thing that really got to me. The way she had said it. Not angry, Not emotional, just matter of fact. Like it was a truth she had been living with, and finally decided to share. When I got back to our apartment 30 minutes later, I opened the door to find 3 packed suitcases lined up in the hallway. 3 suitcases. I stared at them for a moment, my brain trying to catch up. What is this? Mara emerged from the bedroom, car keys already in her hand. I think we both know this isn't working, based on one conversation, based on a lot of things. Tonight just made it clear. She was already dressed to leave, jacket on, purse over her shoulder, like she had been planning this before I even got back from my walk. So that is it, 2 years, and you are just done. Sometimes things run their course, she said. We both knew this wasn't forever, did we? Because I definitely hadn't gotten that memo. She picked up 2 of the suitcases. I will get the rest of my stuff this weekend when you are at your brother's. How do you know I will be at Ryland's this weekend? You always visit him the second Saturday of the month. The detail hit me wrong, too prepared, too planned. I watched her load the suitcases into her car from our second-floor window. 3 trips. She had had everything ready to go, every possession accounted for, organized, packed efficiently. 30 minutes. She had done all that in 30 minutes while I walked around the block. I called my best friend Colt at 11 that night. She left, I told him. Left, or fight left. Suitcases left. He was quiet for a moment, over the X comment. Apparently, though she made it sound like we would both been thinking it was over for a while, had you? That was the question, wasn't it? I replayed the last few months in my head. The increasing comparisons. The way she had seemed distant during sex. The little comments about my job, my friends, my habits. I don't know, I admitted. Maybe I should have seen it coming. Nah, man. You are not a mind reader. If she was unhappy, she should have said something before packing bags. After we hung up, I sat in the apartment that suddenly felt too big, looked around at the spaces where her things used to be, the empty shelf where she kept her books, the bare nightstand on her side of the bed, the missing coffee mug from our set of 4. But here's what bothered me. It didn't look like someone had just quickly grabbed their essentials. It looked like someone had methodically, carefully, completely removed all evidence of their existence. 3 days later, I figured out why. I had been having issues with package theft in our building. Someone kept taking deliveries from the lobby. So 2 weeks before the breakup, I had installed a basic security camera system, one camera covering the hallway outside our door, another aimed at the building's entrance. I had forgotten about it entirely until I got another package stolen and decided to check the footage. That is when I saw it. 3 days before our fight at the restaurant, Mara had taken 3 suitcases down to the storage unit in the basement. At 2:47 p.m. on Saturday, I had been at work, covering someone's weekend shift. I watched the timestamp. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the day we fought. She had been planning to leave for at least 3 days before she told me my ex was better in bed. The comment that supposedly triggered her realization that this wasn't working. She had already packed by then. The fight wasn't the end of our relationship. It was just her exit strategy. I rewound the footage, watched it again. There was something else that nagged at me. She wasn't just carrying suitcases. She had her phone pressed to her ear the whole time, talking to someone, animated conversation. 45 minutes of talking while she organized her escape. Who calls someone for 45 minutes while packing to leave their boyfriend? I screenshotted the timestamp and sent it to Colt. Check this out, I texted. Saturday 2:47 p.m. 3 days before she said we needed to break up. His response came immediately. Holy shit, dude. She played you. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the timeline. Saturday packing, Sunday, normal day together. She had even suggested we order takeout and watch a movie. Monday, casual dinner, talked about maybe getting a new couch. Tuesday, restaurant, fight, instant breakup with pre-packed bags. She had spent 3 days pretending everything was normal while planning her exit. 3 days of lying to my face while already having 1 foot out the door. The cruelest part? The sex comment that supposedly triggered everything. She would probably been saving it, waiting for the right moment to deliver maximum damage and justify the decision she had already made. I was angry. Not hurt angry. There is a difference. Hurt is what you feel when someone you love disappoints you. Angry is what you feel when someone you trusted deliberately manipulates you. 2 weeks later, Colt accidentally solved the final piece of the puzzle. He had been grocery shopping at the Whole Foods near his apartment when he ran into Mara in the produce section. Unavoidable encounter they would met several times over the 2 years she and I were together. Awkward, he told me over beers that night. But I figured I would be civil, you know? Say hi, move on. How would that go? Weird, she seemed. I don't know. Like she wanted to talk. Started explaining herself without me asking. He took a sip of his beer, choosing his words carefully. She said some stuff about you, such as, she said Nolan never satisfied her anyway, and she was just being nice. Said you were clingy and boring, and she had been thinking about leaving for months. I felt something cold settle in my chest. She said that? There is more. She said. She has been back with Jace for a week now. Apparently, they never really stopped talking. A week. If she had been back with Jace for a week, that meant she had gone straight from our apartment to his, from our bed to his bed, from our 2-year relationship to whatever she had waiting in the wings. Did she say anything else? Colt looked uncomfortable. She mentioned that you were good practice for getting back with someone who actually excited her. Good practice. 2 years of my life. 2 years of shared meals, shared bills, shared plans, shared bed. Good practice. I had been a placeholder, a warm body keeping the space occupied until her real relationship was ready to resume. There is one more thing, Colt said. When I was walking away, I heard her on the phone with someone, probably one of her girlfriends. She said something about how you never even suspected anything and how easy it was to keep you happy while she figured out her real life. That night, I blocked her number, blocked her social media, told our mutual friends I didn't want updates about what she was doing or who she was with. I was done being a character in someone else's story, but apparently, I wasn't done learning about how deep the deception went. 3 weeks after Colt's grocery store encounter, my coworker Tessa approached me during lunch break. We weren't particularly close, but we had worked together for 2 years, and she knew about my relationship with Mara. I wasn't sure if I should show you this, she said, pulling out her phone. But I think you have a right to know. She showed me a screenshot of a group chat conversation. Mara's name was clearly visible along with several other women I vaguely recognized as her friends. I read it twice before the full impact hit me. Mara, honestly, the last 2 months with Jace have been incredible. Felt like coming back to life, friend. Wait, didn't you just break up with Nolan like 3 weeks ago, Mara? Low. Yeah. Poor guy had no idea I was already talking to Jace again. Kept trying so hard to make me happy, friend. OMG, that is brutal, Mara. I mean, he was sweet and stable and all that. Perfect practice boyfriend while Jace got his shit together. But let's be real. I was never going to end up with a it support guy, friend. Practice boyfriend. I am dying, Mara, right? Like, I feel bad, but also, I needed someone safe and reliable while Jace figured out if he wanted to commit. Nolan was perfect for that. Just boring as hell in bed, friend. You are terrible, Mara, probably. But it all worked out. Jace realized what he was missing, and I realized I deserve better than safe. I stared at the screenshot until the words blurred. Practice boyfriend. 2 years of thinking I was building something real with someone, and I had been auditioning for a role I was never going to get. A temporary position while she waited for her actual life to begin. The timeline made sickening sense now. She had been emotionally cheating with Jace for at least 2 months before our breakup. All those comparisons, all those stories about their relationship, she wasn't reminiscing. She was actively comparing her current situation to what she was planning to go back to. Every time I had tried to be more adventurous, more exciting, more like whatever she seemed to want, I had been competing against someone who already had the job. I had been trying to earn a position that was never actually available. There is more, Tessa said gently, scrolling down. Mara, honestly feel like I wasted 2 years. Should have just waited for Jace instead of settling friend. But didn't you learn stuff? Like what you actually want? Mara, I guess. Learned I cannot do boring. Learned I need someone who challenges me. Nolan just agreed with everything. So desperate to make me happy he never even fought for anything, friend. That is actually sad, Mara. Whatever. His choice to be a doormat. I handed the phone back to Tessa. Thanks for showing me. Are you okay? Yeah, I said. And surprisingly, I was, because suddenly everything made perfect sense. The constant comparisons, the casual cruelty of that last comment about the ex being better in bed, the pre-packed suitcases, the immediate transition back to Jace. I hadn't been dumped. I had been laid off from a job I didn't know was temporary. 2 months later, Colt called with an update I hadn't asked for. So remember how Mara went back to that Jace guy? Yeah, well, funny thing. Turns out he dumped her. I was reorganizing my closet, getting rid of clothes that reminded me of her, donating the shirt she had bought me for my birthday, the jacket she had said looked good on me, creating space for someone new. Eventually when, about 2 weeks ago, found out she had been talking shit about you to everyone, told her friends you were a placeholder, told him you were obsessed with her and wouldn't leave her alone. Apparently, he didn't appreciate being with someone who bad-mouthed their ex. I stopped folding clothes. She told him I wouldn't leave her alone. Yeah, painted you as some desperate guy who couldn't accept it was over. But here is the kicker: one of their mutual friends showed him those group chat screenshots where she was bragging about using you as practice. He realized if she could lie about you, she could lie about anything. There was a justice to that I hadn't expected to feel. She tried calling you yet? Colt asked. I blocked her number months ago. Why? Because word is she has been asking around about how to reach you. Apparently told someone she made a mistake and wants to clear the air. Clear the air, I repeated. Yeah, translation, she is alone, and realizes she burned down both relationships for nothing. I finished folding the shirt I was holding. It was one I had bought after she left, darker blue than I usually wore, better fit than I used to buy. I looked better in it, felt better in it. You know what is funny? I told Colt. I actually feel sorry for her. Yeah, she spent 2 years lying to me, 2 months lying to him, and probably longer lying to herself. That is exhausting. I meant it. Somewhere between finding out about the pre-packed suitcases and seeing those group chat messages, my anger had transformed into something else. Not forgiveness exactly, but a kind of clarity. She hadn't chosen Jace over me. She had chosen dishonesty over everything, chosen manipulation over communication, chosen to make everyone around her into characters in whatever story she was telling herself. And characters don't get to be real. Characters don't get to be chosen. Characters just serve their function until they are no longer needed. I had been trying so hard to earn her love that I had forgotten to evaluate whether she was someone worth loving, whether she was someone who loved honestly, chose deliberately, acted with integrity. The answer was no. 3 months after I blocked her, I was getting coffee before work when I noticed a woman reading at a corner table, short dark hair, completely absorbed in her book, unconsciously twisting a strand around her finger while she read. I recognized the book, one I would read the month before. Before I could overthink it, I walked over. Is that any good? I asked, nodding at her book. She looked up, smiled. Really good. Though I keep having to put it down because it is making me cry in public. Happy crying or sad crying? Both. The complicated kind. I liked her answer. I liked that she read books that made her cry. I liked that she wasn't embarrassed about it. I am Nolan, I said. Emma, can I buy you another coffee, Emma? I have some thoughts about that book, if you are interested in discussing it with someone who definitely cried reading it too. She laughed. I would like that. We talked for an hour, about the book, about coffee, about how we both ended up in this particular CAF at this particular time. She was a graphic designer, had moved to the city 6 months ago for a job, was still figuring out which neighborhoods felt like home. When I finally had to leave for work, I asked for her number. I would love to take you to dinner sometime, I said. Somewhere we can keep talking without time pressure. I would like that too. As I walked to my car, I realized something. I hadn't once thought about whether Emma would find me exciting enough, whether I was confident enough, adventurous enough, good enough in bed. I had just been myself, and she had seemed to like what she saw. That was a revelation. Emma and I have been together for 8 months now. She has never mentioned an ex, never compared me to anyone, never made me feel like I was competing for her attention. When she tells me she is happy, I believe her. When she chooses me, it feels like an actual choice, not a consolation prize, not a backup plan, not practice for someone else. Last week, She found one of Mara's old books that I would somehow missed when I was purging the apartment. "Whose is this?" she asked. "My ex's. I must have overlooked it. Want me to return it to her?" I looked at the book, some romance novel I had bought for Mara's birthday 2 years ago. Something she had mentioned wanting to read. "Just donate it," I said. "Some stories aren't worth finishing." Emma kissed my cheek and tossed the book in our donation box. A few months ago, Tessa mentioned that she had seen Mara at a work conference. Apparently, she had asked about me, how I was doing, whether I was seeing anyone, whether I seemed happy. "What did you tell her?" I asked. "That you seem really good, really happy, and..." She looked surprised, like she expected you to still be hung up on her. That made me laugh. The idea that I would be pining away for someone who had treated our entire relationship like a temporary arrangement. Someone who had reduced 2 years of my life to practice. But I understand why she might think that. When you are someone who sees other people as supporting characters in your story, it probably doesn't occur to you that they have their own stories, their own capacity for growth, for moving on, for finding better. I learned something important from being Mara's practice boyfriend. The right person will not make you feel like you are auditioning. They will not make you compete with ghosts from their past. They will not treat your love like a placeholder until something better comes along. The right person chooses you deliberately, completely. Honestly, they see your flaws and choose you anyway. They see your strengths and celebrate them without comparing them to someone else's. Emma chose me. Not because I am the most exciting person she has ever met. Not because I am perfect. Not because I am better than someone else. She chose me because she likes who she is when she is with me. She likes how we fit together. She likes building something real instead of performing something temporary. And I chose her for the same reasons. That is what love actually looks like. It turns out, not constant comparison, not endless auditions, not settling for someone while you wait for someone else. Just two people deciding they want to build something together. Just two people treating each other like they matter. Just two people choosing each other again and again, without keeping scorecards or exit strategies. I spent 2 years being someone's practice. Now I know what it feels like to be someone's choice. The difference is everything.